All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Corey Boatwright and from Real Estate Servant, and I am answering another question that we got from Rasmo. And Rasmo is wondering, how do you keep the attention of a seller whenever there's a lot of commotion going on in the house? So you ever been over to a seller's house and there's 4 kids running around going crazy with their, with their bikes and, toys and everything. And then, people are yelling and screaming in the background. There's music going on. So how do you negotiate? How do you keep the attention of the seller whenever that's happening? Okay. So one of the things that you can do, and it's really simple, but it's got to be subtle. Okay, it's got to be subtle. But whenever it comes to the time where you're getting ready to talk brass tacks with the seller, what you want to do is say, I've got a lot of things to consider here, and I want to talk with you about a few things. You mind if we step outside for a moment? And so whenever you subtly say, hey, you mind if we step outside for a moment? I've never had a seller say no, and most of the time what you'll see people do is they'll just stay in the house. They'll negotiate in the house where all the kids and everything's going crazy. And it's very difficult for that seller to focus on anything you're saying, much less anything that's even going on, because there's too much chaos, okay? Even if they're used to it, there's just too much chaos. So you have to ask them, say, hey, do you mind if we go ahead and step outside for a moment? And then when you step outside, usually on the front porch, you kind of walk around and you're just talking to the seller, and that way you can keep their attention, okay? So it's a really subtle thing, but that's one way that you can do it. Another way that you can do it is if you don't feel comfortable whenever you're at the house. Okay, you can ask the seller to meet you at McDonald's or Starbucks. I've done that before. Now, what I like to do whenever something like that, whenever I do that, I've already looked at the property. Okay, I've already looked at the property a little bit, and I've went through. And so on this time, instead of going to the house to finish up and on the deal, okay, then I'll ask them to meet at Starbucks or a McDonald's to actually sign the contract. Now, most of the time, 99% of the time, I would go ahead and get the contract while I was there, okay, while I was at the house. That's the obvious goal. But if there's a time where you cannot do that, then it's okay to ask them to meet you at Starbucks or a McDonald's, okay? So just a little tip. Don't be afraid to ask the seller to step outside for a moment. Just be subtle with it, okay? Because you want to talk brass tacks with them, and it'll be obvious things are going crazy, and just ask them to step outside, and then you got their full attention, okay? Now, if there's a husband and a wife, I will ask both of them to step outside for a moment. Now, there was a time where the wife said, well, I need to stay inside with the kids, because it was really, a young kid that was in the house, okay? So at that moment, I walked outside with the dad, okay, and we talked. And then we got to an agreement point, and then he came back in and talked with his wife while I was still there, and I walked away with the contract, okay? So the goal, always to walk away with the contract. That's your number one goal. You're there, you want to get the contract, you're there, you have money to give them, okay? Someone else may or may not offer them more money, but you're there right now, and you're ready to do business, okay? So make sure you just subtly say, hey, if it's going crazy in the house, make sure you ask them if they want to step outside for a moment, and that way you'll have their full attention and you can negotiate. All right. So it's just a little subtle thing, probably something you already do. But if you don't, it's a really great way to not lose the contract. You can lose that contract if you're not getting the full attention of that seller. And it's just difficult to do that whenever there's chaos going on. All right. So I'm going to be doing more of these videos. I'm getting more questions, which is great. And I've also put together, if you like some of these tips, I've also put together a quick start guide that you can go right now. You can get it for free. It's on Amazon. And you can go to realestateservant.com/get my guide. Okay? realestateservant.com/get my guide. Okay? And once you do that, it's a quick start guide. It's going to help in a tremendous way for you to get going. Whether you flipped 50 houses or you haven't flipped your first house, there's something there for you. So, and you can check out the reviews too. Don't take my word for it. We've had great reviews. And I recommend you get the audio version of it. So you can. I like to go through the audio version of books, and I get a little bit more from it, not just reading it all the time. So maybe you're like that, especially on the airplane or something. If you can listen to it, it's great. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you have a fantastic, phenomenal Thursday. Go out there and talk and make offers on these properties, and I'll talk to you on the next question. Remember, be a servant. Bye now.